Hey everybody, welcome back for another video, online swing progression video actually. Really wanted to share this because we actually have gone off to an amazing start with Orren here. Quick overview about Orren. He emailed me telling me he has some rotator cuff and shoulder impingement issues that's making him not be able to turn as much, and he wants to develop a little bit more range with his limited mobility and to be able to hit a little bit of a push straw at the end of the day. So with Orren, when we watch his swing first in normal speed, you guys are going to see quite a restricted backswing that causes him to go over the top of the downswing. Okay, so he makes his backswing, picks it up, no depth, as you guys know, no depth because his hands are in line with his shoulders, hands are very close to his head, no width because his trail arm is very bent, and not much height too because his hands are pretty much in line with his head. So things that aren't very powerful at the moment, and then as he continues, you can see his hands work way out towards the ball, and his shaft is super steep. Okay, so he continues to work down way over the top, way across the line. Club is way outside his hands. That is not a recipe for hitting a push draw. So that's what we're starting to work with. So because you can see, with most people who feels like they have restricted movements, who don't really turn much, this is a swing that they kind of get because it becomes very armsy. They pick it up in the backswing, and then they kind of yank it back out and down and just kind of cuts across it. So not very fun. On the face-on video, you guys can see definitely a restricted turn here as you get to the top of the backswing. Don't see much of his back right shoulder at all. And then as he comes down, like, he actually uses his legs pretty well. I really like that slight bounce he has with his leg. But because of the lack of width, depth, and height of his hands in the top of the backswing, he's not going to be able to hit a push draw at all. So what we started on working was, I asked Orren to start letting his hips turn more. So I'm going to compare the face-on video first. I'm going to put the original video on the left here, and then the new video on the right. And you guys can see that what I have asked him to do, which was turn the hips the most, so his upper body can turn the most, actually yielded us some really good results. So typically when people don't turn well, I like to look at the hips first. Are they letting their hips turn? Most of the time the answer is no. If you or someone you know is feeling like they can't turn, I will look at the hip turn first, because by letting the hips turn more, your upper body can turn more. So what Orren was doing before was he wasn't letting his hips turn in his backswing. He just tried to make his upper body turn. Lower body turned a little bit as a result of the upper body dragging it, but you can see he doesn't really turn much on the left. So by letting his right hip turn back, which is what my suggestion was, letting his right hip work more back towards the wall in front of him, as he turns, that allowed him to get more hip turn, which allowed his upper body to turn more. So as you guys can see, way more hip turn. You see that as a rehearsal. We can see his right leg straightens way more, allowing his right hip to turn back. Compared to his before video, his right leg is still bent. Okay, so we don't want that. If you want to turn your right hip back or trail hip back, you need to let your trail leg loose, flex, and straighten. And as a result, you see a lot more of his back right shoulder at the top of the backswing. So even though it's not perfect yet, in just 2.5, 3 short weeks, Orren's able to turn more and actually start coming more from the inside with way more fluidity and flow to it. So if I play this for you in kind of slow speed, you can see he turns and loads. He tells me he feels more loaded in the right, which allows him to effectively start squatting and rotating better, you can actually see the club kind of fall behind him a little bit in transition here on the right. Compared to video on the left, the club does definitely not fall back at all. So this change is very, very apparent on the down the line view, which we're going to see here. So again, the original swing, not much depth, height, or width over the top, compared to the new video on the right. It's like a different guy. So good. He showed this to me in normal, in slow-mo, but you can see way more width and depth, and this allows him to shallow the club out way more behind him. So nice backswing. He's turning his hips way more so his upper body can turn, which helps him stretch his hands back and up. Hands are slightly higher at the top now, as you guys can see. Hands are way deeper behind his shoulders, and you can actually see a little bit of a window there between his arms now, compared to before on the left. None of that, okay? So top of the backswing is way different, way more width on the right, depth and height. None of that on the left. And you can see as a result of all this good stuff in the backswing, the club starts shallowing way more in the downswing. You see it shallow out. Club trails way behind him now. Compared to video on the right, club does not trail, stays above his right forearm. You can see club continues to fall behind him as opposed to falling in front of him on the left. So much better video on the right here for Orren, where he's able to use this newfound hip turn and upper body turn to get the hands deeper, wider, higher, so that he can use that turn to load better into his inside trail heel, so that his downswing reacts differently from a better backswing spot to allow him to shallow out the downswing much more. So in these 2.5, 3 weeks, we haven't talked about the downswing at all with Orren. All we did was talk about more hip turn, more upper body turn, so his hands can stretch up and back more, and this is the result. The downswing is positively influenced because of a way better backswing structure and way better backswing load, whereas the video on the left, the original video, has none of that. So I'll play it for you one more time. Video on the left, original video, outside in, over the top, not much speed because of the restricted turn, compared to video on the right, way more turn, which allows him to get his hands way deeper and higher and more width, which allows his club to fall way more behind him and shallow in transition to hit little push draws. So really, really happy to see what Orren and I have been able to do in these short 2.5, 3 weeks. I'm excited to see how the next 2 months go before the season starts with him. But really, really happy to see how this online program has been going with Orren. So I'm sure it's going to continue to improve as time goes by. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully some of you guys can relate to this video and to see some things that you guys can incorporate into your own swings over the next few months before the season starts for anyone with a winter off season. So even if you feel like you have flexibility issues or you can't turn, I would really look at freeing up your hips the most first, so that you can turn your hips, so that you can turn your upper body, and then it will help you do more good stuff in the downswing. So hope that makes sense. Any questions, please leave in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.